I've lived in this apartment complex for 3 years, and I always thought the man in 4B was just a dedicated artist. His name was Elias. He was thin, pale, and smelled faintly of wet plaster. Every night I'd hear the heavy dragging of crates above my head. Sometimes a wet, rhythmic slapping sound, like someone tossing raw clay onto a floor. I never questioned it until a neighborhood girl went missing, and the police found nothing but art projects in his home. A week later, Elias knocked on my door. His hands were coated in a thick white crust. He smiled, but his eyes were bloodshot and frantic. "My arms are cramping," he whispered. "I just need someone to hold the mold steady for 5 minutes. I'll pay you." I didn't want to go, but curiosity is a dangerous thing. I followed him into the cold, chemical-scented darkness of apartment 4B. As I stepped into his living room, my heart stopped. There were dozens of them, life-sized figures standing in the shadows, some sitting on chairs, others leaning against the walls. They were terrifyingly real. One woman looked exactly like the local librarian who vanished last month. Her skin had a waxy sheen, and her eyes, they looked wet, as if they were pleading for help from behind a white prison. Elias handed me a heavy, cold cast of a human torso. As I took it, my hand accidentally brushed against a doll sitting on the couch. It wasn't cold like plaster. It was lukewarm. I looked closer at its temple. Beneath a thin layer of white paint, I saw a faint blue vein pulsing. And then, the horror peaked. The doll's index finger gave a tiny, microscopic twitch. It wasn't art. It was a prison. I looked at Elias. He was staring at me, a heavy sculpting hammer in his hand. "The secret to realism," he whispered, "is the internal structure." I didn't wait. I dropped the mold, hearing it shatter with a sickening thud, and bolted for the door. When the police returned an hour later, the apartment was empty. No Elias, no statues, only a pile of wet plaster on the floor and a single human fingernail embedded in the rug.